This week on Days of Our Mercedes, the Silver Arrows returned back to action after a week off in Imola. A race that was imperfect, that was a complete disaster for Lewis Hamilton and his quest of an 8th championship. But it kept George Russell's top 5 streak alive. Of course, after Imola, Lewis Hamilton tried to blame the car for his bad performance. Even though we all know that ain't the truth and that Hamilton's just a washed up bum. Especially when George Russell can take that car and get 4 straight top 5s in it. So then during the off week after Lewis Hamilton said he was out of the championship hunt, Lewis Hamilton then said he was right back in it. And this is coming off one of his worst races in recent memory. And Hamilton's saying that he's not done completing his masterpiece. If his masterpiece is finishing 13th at Imola and ending up 7th in the championship, then... okay. It's like, Lewis, what the fuck are you doing? Lewis, you tried this already earlier. Nobody was buying into it because we all know that ain't the case when you're on your worst start of the season. And then you said you were out after Imola, and now you're saying you're right back in it. And of course, Christian Horner is backing Hamilton on this one by saying that that team needs more time to develop the car. Really? Do they really need more time to develop Hamilton's car when George Russell could take that car and get into the top 5 easily? Hamilton, are you out of the championship or are you still in it? Pick a fucking lane and stay in it. Quit hip-hops. Quit hopping side to side. Of course, for Lewis Hamilton, this is only just the beginning of the drama for Hamilton. As also during this week, F1 announced their ban on body jewelry, and underwear, saying they can only wear fireproof underwear. Of course, the jewelry one pissed Hamilton off to the point of no return, as Lewis Hamilton was dead against it, talking about how he was pro-choice. And then Hamilton in Miami would protest these things by showing up wearing a bunch of fucking body jewelry and watches. And then Hamilton saying next to rate at Spain, he'll wear 4 more watches to really piss the FIA off. Hamilton, are you sure you really want to piss the FIA off? Even though I'm with you on pro-choice, and I think the drivers should decide what they put on their bodies and not the FIA. But Hamilton, is it really wise to piss the FIA off? Is this the hill you're willing to die on? And of course, he wasn't the only one that protested against F1's bullshit, as Sebastian Vettel protested the underwear rule by wearing a pair of Puma underwear over his fire suit. It's like, does F1 really need to fucking continue with this bullshit in their policies? Like, the drivers already go under enough fucking risk when they get in that car to begin with. Like, is really body jewelry and underwear that big a deal over fucking other shit that's more severe? Risk, like, goddamn, F1 really needs to get their shit together. This is why people like NASCAR more than F1 in the US. Because usually, even though NASCAR's been incompetent at times, they at least have somewhat of their shit together, while F1 continues to be grossly incompetent. Like, F1, this is seriously supposed to be the sport that's gonna dethrone NASCAR in America? Fuck out of here. So, of course, with that drama now out of the way, we now turn our attentions to the streets of Miami around at the Miami International Autodrome for the inaugural Miami Grand Prix, a track that will take place around the Hard Rock Stadium where the Miami Dolphins play. Of course, this race will have more relevance than the Miami Dolphins will this year, because the Dolphins, we all know, are going to be absolute ass this year. But that is a topic for another video. But yeah, and of course, this track also had a fake marina with fake water, because they tried to go to a real marina for the street circuit, but could not get the contract for it from Miami, so they had to make a fake one. They are talking about putting real water in that fake marina next year, so maybe if they can pull that one off, it could work. Yep, and of course, this race would also have a lot of American presence here, with not only having former IndyCar and NASCAR flunk out Danica Patrick there. And oh, by the way, I should mention here that Danica Patrick actually recently just had surgery to have her breast implants removed that she got back in 2014. And to be perfectly honest, I didn't even know Danica had breast implants. But yeah, and of course she said she maybe got rid of them because of health issues and all that, and just not feeling well. Which I honestly don't. I don't understand why I don't know why Danica got implants in the first place. Like, she was perfectly fine the way she was. But maybe those implants might be a factor into why Danica was utter dog shit in NASCAR. Maybe that played a factor. There were probably 99 other factors too, but maybe that was a small one. But yeah, anyway though, at the end of the day though, it's her fucking body, her choice. You know, whatever makes her happy, at the end of the day, I'm okay with it. And of course, there were also a lot of celebrities at this race too, like Serena Williams, even First Lady Michelle Obama. Even the GOATs Tom Brady and Michael Jordan were here too. I think Jeff Gordon even had a slight appearance here too, before Jeff Gordon had to leave for Darlington for the throwback race. And a lot of other celebrities too, like David Beckham, even DJ Khaled, and even Michael Douglas. Like, all the celebrities were out in full force for this inaugural race on the streets of Miami. Of course, for this race, the cars to beat all week were Charles Leclerc and Sergio Perez. But of course, we saw qualifiers. Practice speed meant jack fucking shit. Because Leclerc did jump out to an early lead, and on lap 1, Carlos Sainz did not spin alla. Pretty easy to not spin out when there's no gravel pit at this track. So now Carlos can finally have a good run for the great Ferrari master plan. But in the end, the master plan was no match for Max Verstappen, because even though Leclerc led the first part of the race, Verstappen's speed on the straights would eventually reign supreme over Charles, and Verstappen would get the lead early in the race. And once Verstappen got the lead, he never looked back and dominated much of this race, even jumping out at one point to nearly an 8-second lead. Until late in the race, we would get a turning point, when Pierre Gasly would go off the track a bit, and then he would forget that Lando Norris was on his left. And then he'd go right into Lando Norris and spin him out, even knocking Lando's rear wheel off. Here's the difference between NASCAR and IndyCar. When an F1 car loses a wheel, no 4-race suspension for the crew chief or tire changer or tire carrier. Interesting. But in the end, though, that call would lead to a safety car, where a few cars would pit and number would stay out. Of course, one of the cars that pitted would be Mercedes' George Russell, while Lewis Hamilton would choose to stay out on old tires, because Lewis Hamilton said he didn't trust the strategists on taking fresh tires at Miami, and saying he saw no gain in it. Lewis, not taking tires, this is exactly how you lost the championship last year. This is how you lost the title last year, was not pitting. And you're doing the same mistake again. By God, Lewis, you've learned nothing from Abu Dhabi last year. Keep saying the FIA fucked you. Keep saying Michael Massey and Nicholas Latifi fucked you. That's totally the reason why you didn't pit for fresh tires while Verstappen did. Fucking own up to your mistake for once, Lewis. And Lewis Hamilton fans can own up to it too. You choked that championship away, and you're making the same mistake again. You learned nothing. Well, also during this pit stop, Sergio Perez would also take fresh tires, hoping fresh tires would be enough to get to a podium. And despite that restart, Max Verstappen would still pull away from Leclerc, but Leclerc would stay close to him within a second for much of the final run, while Carlos and Sergio would both battle for the podium positions. But Sergio Perez, he would make a move into turn 1 until he locked the brakes up and overdrove the turn, completely cooking those fresh tires. And that would allow Sergio Perez to drive away and get away to the podium positions. Meanwhile, George Russell on fresh tires was stuck behind Hamilton, and both were stuck behind former Mercedes wingman Valtteri Bottas. And Bottas did a good job of holding him at bay until late in the race when he would get loose and go straight into the wall and kiss it, but would keep going to finish 7th, while Russell and Hamilton battled it out. In the end, could Lewis's track position reign supreme, or would it be Russell's 4 tires? In the end, despite Hamilton's best efforts, George Russell would get past him, because George Russell has a top 5 streak he has to keep going to start the season. As Russell's 4 fresh tires would reign supreme, and Russell would go past Hamilton to go to 5th while Hamilton went to 6th. See, Lewis? This is what happens when you don't pit for fresh tires. You get your ass beat by your younger, inexperienced teammate. This is why you lost the championship last year, Lewis. Maybe instead of questioning your fucking strategist, maybe you'll actually fucking learn to listen to him for once, you dumb fuck. Yeah, but will Lewis Hamilton learn anything from this? Probably not, because that would require too many brain cells, since he's trying to look like a Mr. T discount. But anyway, while that's happening up front, despite Charles Leclerc's best efforts to catch Verstappen, Verstappen's car was no match for Leclerc. And Verstappen would pull away and hold Leclerc off in the closing laps, and Verstappen would get his third win of the season, winning in Miami and winning the inaugural Miami GP. So now for the third time this year, so yeah, Verstappen's streak of winning every race he does a DNF in stays alive. Leclerc's consistency gets him a second place run. And it gets him a 19-point championship lead over Verstappen. But now Verstappen has got that championship within a race. And also Red Bull gains ground on Ferrari in the Constructors title, as now Ferrari's lead in the Constructors Championship is down to 11 points. So 5 races in, it looks like we're going to have ourselves a championship battle between Leclerc and Verstappen. Of course, Lewis Hamilton's slow start to the season continues, and a lot more questions than answers. Will Lewis Hamilton stop being a fucking diva? Will Lewis Hamilton learn to listen to a strategist? Will Lewis Hamilton learn to actually fucking listen? Will Lewis Hamilton learn anything from his previous mistakes? And will him and his fanboys take accountability for their fuck-ups? All that and more will be answered in a couple weeks in Spain. Which is Spain, but the S is silent. Because like the sands in the hourglass, so too are the days of our Mercedes. At least we're going to get a good championship battle finally between Leclerc and Verstappen at least this year.